very warm welcome to you, and thanks very much for joining us on this episode of the Roundtable Talk. My name is Frans, Modise, and you are watching Tshwane Talk TV. In today's episode, we are in conversation with the regional chairperson of ActionSA in Tshwane region, Mr. Oupa Mathibela, and we'll be conversing about the issues of societal discourse, among others, including the state of the organization in the region, the status of the ActionSA in the coalition arrangement, their views on governance, the future and sustainability of coalition politics, among other things. Those are the issues that we'll converse or deliberate on. Very warm welcome to you, sir, and thanks very much for affording us this opportunity.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Greetings to you and greetings to the audience. It's Tshwane Talk TV. It's an honor to be here with you, and yeah, it's exciting times.
Exciting times indeed. But maybe before we start with this, we saw you have issued a communicating about the passing of one of your I think it was a national member, Mr. Feki Mento.
Yeah, we learned last week of the passing of Mefeki. So Mefeki was a Senate member in our party, which is equal to what the other parties would call the NECA, and yeah. So she was a member of Senate, and she was also the chairperson of the province of Western Cape. Towards the last days of her life on earth, she obviously fell ill, and she requested that she be relieved of some of her duties, more especially as the provincial chairperson, because she was quite ill. So as the party, we took that, we understood, and we relieved her of those duties, and that day John Moody was then appointed to oversee. John Moody is the national operations director in our party. So she was then taken to Western Cape to oversee everything and the structures in Western Cape to relieve Mefeki Mento. So it's indeed a sad moment. You'd know and you'd remember how Mefeki is actually the first person to raise alarm on what is known as state capture, where a whole commission was actually set up to deal with that issue. So she was the first person to raise alarm to say there's these issues that are happening here, and they involve the highest office in the country, and she raised those issues, and she didn't get the support that she was supposed to get. She was actually attacked for that, she was threatened and all of those things. So ultimately she left the party that she was with, and then as ActionSA was launched, she identified with ActionSA, and then she came on board and she was appointed as the provincial chairperson. She assisted us a lot in setting up structures in the Western Cape, and she did a lot for ActionSA actually all over the country. So we are indeed saddened by her passing. We'll be having a memorial service tomorrow, which will be streamed live on some social media platforms, but there's a few media outlets that will be covering that as well, and the funeral is taking place on Friday. It's sad times. It is very sad. She was still an active person, fairly young, but yeah, life happened, and we take that and we go with it. But yeah, it's indeed sad times.
Well, sad times indeed, and our heartfelt condolences to your organization and the Mento family. Now, Mr. Mathibela, let's zoom into the status of your organization in the region. what would you say is the state of the organization? We know that in the region we have 107 wards. Do you have presence in terms of your branches across the seven wards? How are you recruiting members? How are you vetting them? If they are vetted, kind of qualities you are looking at a particular individual that is joining the ActionSA?
Yeah, so we are quite active in all corners of Tshwane. We are very happy with the state that we are in. So what we have done is that we have clustered this into what we call constituencies, and it's 9 constituencies. So all of those 107 wards are in those constituencies. So as things stand right now, we have presence in all the 107 wards. What we do not have is leadership in all 107 wards. So there's leadership that was appointed in those wards pre the local government elections, and then as time went, I think some people realized that the party is not for them. We had infiltrators, and we had people who just came in. You know, those people who say, okay, I didn't benefit in this party, so I'll go to this one, and then I'll quickly benefit, and all of those things. So we had those, and some of them left. So we have a few wards that do not have leadership that we are working on getting leadership in those wards. But also what we are doing is that we are embarking on a program of launching branches. So by December this year, the target is that we should have launched all 107 branches. So that is what we are embarking on, and as we launch those branches, we'll then have AGMs of those branches, where the leadership would then be elected by the members of that branch. So that is what we are embarking on. It is going very well. We have quite a few branches that are ready to launch as we speak. So we are working with the province and the national to be able to finalize the issues that must be finalized, the guidelines and all of those things, so that we can be able to launch those branches. So yeah, by December we are confident we'll have branches in all 107 wards, and we'll have leadership in all 107 wards. So what we have currently is the leadership of the constituencies, which was appointed. So maybe let me clarify that, because I see there's a whole lot of shouting going around with that. So what happens is that we have a provincial chairperson that was appointed by the Senate. Now the provincial chairperson then recommends the regional chairpersons to the Senate of people that he has identified who have capacity to lead and can therefore lead the region. And then the provincial chairperson through the Senate then appoints those regional chairpersons. So I'm one of the regional chairpersons in Gauteng, obviously recommended by Bongani Baloyi, who's our provincial chairperson. So what then happens is that I then recommend the constituency chairpersons and the secretaries to the provincial executive committee and for ratification and for appointment by the provincial chairperson. So that is the state that we are in. So we have leadership in those constituencies. They have been appointed. So their role is to make sure that we go to the AGMs of the branches, we launch the branches, and then leadership will then be elected of those branches. So after we are done with the AGMs of all 107 branches, or at least 75% of them, the target is to launch all of them. So when we are there, then we would have constituency AGMs, where the leadership of the constituencies would then be elected, no longer appointed as things stand. And when that is done, we then go to the regional AGMs, where the regional chairpersons would then be elected by membership and not appointed as things stand right now. With me, I'm appointed, I'm not elected. So that is the state that we are on, but we are confident things are going okay. The leadership that is there is pushing, and it's all hands on deck. So yeah, we are going along pretty nicely. We'll be done with the branches by December.
So what would constitute a branch in Kustendi in terms of numbers and so on?
Yes, so a ward has to have 50 50 members above. So you cannot launch a branch when you have below 50 members. So once you have those 50 members, then you are ready to then launch a branch. So that is the benchmark that we have set, and almost all of our wards have 50 and above membership. So that's why I'm saying quite a large number of wards are ready to launch as branches.
Are you keeping it at 50 or is it minimum?
No, we are not keeping it. The minimum is 50. So we have, for instance, a ward here in Ward 2 in Pretoria North, which has in excess of 400 members as we speak. So we are not keeping it. We want as many members as we can have, but 50 is definitely a minimum.
And maybe that's it. What kind of an individual or character would qualify to be an ActionSA member?
So firstly, you cannot be a member of ActionSA when you have a criminal record. You cannot. So those are the vetting processes that we have. But we also, especially on the leadership of the branches, we are looking at people that are active in the area of residence. So we are looking for people that are participating, for instance, in the CPFs, in the social programs that are going on in those wards. So we don't want a person that is just coming in, is not known in that area, and then that person is contesting for leadership. So you have to be able to present that this is what I've been doing in my community, and then in my community I'm known for this and this and this, because we then want to continue with that. As you come in as leadership of ActionSA, would then expect you to continue with those programs so that you are of service to the community that you are residing in. Yes.
No, thanks. Now let's deal with the elephant in the room. You have been making news lately in the region. With regard to the issue of the coalition, when you raised the matter of a tender, but what more specifically I would like us to zoom more on the status of ActionSA in the coalition. What would you say is the status of your organization in the coalition?
Okay. Maybe let's first start on how we got into the coalition. So we went to the local government elections and results were announced. So in the results, it became obvious that we didn't get the majority to run the city. So what we did with that is that we embarked on a program where we were asking the residents of Tshwane, not just our membership, residents at large, to say, as ActionSA, we are here, this is the percentage that we got. Now, what do you want us to do with these seats that we have in Tshwane? Do you want us to be in opposition and to continue to hold the government accountable in opposition benches? Do you want us to be part of government as a form of coalition? And the residents came out in large numbers, to say, no, we want you to be part of the coalition government, because we want you to hold the government accountable inside, when you are inside. But we also want you to show us all of these things that you have been promising us when you are campaigning, on how you'll be able to implement those things, and if indeed you'll be able to implement those things. So this is how we got into a coalition government. So we are in this coalition government.
And how many seats you got?
19 seats. We have 19 seats here in Tshwane. So we are the second largest party in the coalition. The first one is the DA. So we are in that coalition because of what the residents said. So we are in this coalition and we are happy in the coalition. We do not have a problem in the coalition. We might have individual problems, like the problem that we have with the mayor, Randall Williams. So there was that problem, which was an issue with the mayor specifically, not necessarily the coalition. So we are in coalition, we are happy, we are not leaving leaving the coalition. We are not going anywhere. We are going to force people to be accountable. We are going to force people to be in government if that's what we need to do, so that the people of Tshwane can then be serviced. So we are in this coalition. So the issue that has been spoken about a lot lately is about this unsolicited bid that the mayor was pushing. So we raised issues with that in the coalition committees. Our MMCs raised issues with that in the MEICO, and to say this does not qualify to be an unsolicited bid. So the issue is not necessarily about the program that was going to be embarked on. We all have an issue with load shedding. We definitely want that sorted out, and if this was going to sort that out, it's something that we definitely support. We had a problem with how this whole thing was structured. So there are guidelines into what qualifies as an unsolicited bid, and this did not meet those. So that's what we're saying, to say we cannot push this as an unsolicited bid. Let it be open as an open bid, and then everyone can push this thing. For instance, we were not convinced that this particular company, is called Kratos, I think, was the only company that could supply this particular service. We were not convinced, and that's one of the guidelines. They have to be the only one to be able to qualify. So we are not convinced that they qualify for that. So we said no, it can't then be an unsolicited bid. So let this be open. So we faced challenges from the mayor himself, and it was quite an attitude that we were given a bad one at that, to say no, we are going through with this thing, whether you are in support or you are not in support, we'll get support from other parties. And you can imagine when that statement is made, it then says we are going to get support from parties that are outside of the coalition. Because obviously, if they do not have support of the parties in coalition, for them to pass this motion in council, they will need then support from outside. And we were told on good authority that the mayor then met with the ANC and met with the EFF because he failed to convince us so that he can push this thing through. So we took this thing to the oversight committee of the coalition, which is the national committee with national leadership, and we said we are not happy with this matter. So then it was handled at that stage. So that's how you saw the issues that happened on Thursday, where there was a motion of no confidence against the mayor, which we were not going to participate in because this thing was handled in that committee. So maybe to outline what happened there. So we agreed as parties in coalition to say there's this issue. Now this issue needs to be investigated, and that proposal was made to say let us have an independent body come in and investigate these matters. And as ActionSA, we were happy with that, because look, we don't want to set a precedence where when you are not happy with someone who's in leadership and then you can just say no, this person must go. We don't want to set that precedence. Look, chances are that Gauteng, in fact, I'm sure that Gauteng after 2024 will be governed by coalition. Now we don't want a situation where the premier of the province then when another party that the premier is not coming from is obviously not happy with that, they can just come in and say no, we don't want you, we want you to leave, and then we would have set that precedence here, and then that would then happen, and we don't want that to happen. So we are saying we give people a chance to give their side of the story, to be investigated if they are willing to be investigated, and obviously the mayor was open to that. So an independent body has been set up to investigate those issues, and then they will come to us with that report, and then we'll take it from there.
Now, you speaking of how you got into the coalition arrangement. Now, what also I'm interested in is the issue of the program of the coalition. When you got into this arrangement of coalition, coalition, do you have a manifesto of coalition? Because you come as individual parties, now you are clubbing together.
Yeah.
So when you come together, did you have some program of that you agreed on, that this is how we are going to do, and this what we are going to do, and how we are going to do it?
Yeah. So we have what we call the coalition agreement, which was signed by all of the parties in the coalition. So it's a document that is there. It's signed by all the parties, which is, every now and then when we are disagreeing, then we are able to go back to that agreement. Even this very issue that we were speaking on, we were then able to go back to that agreement to say, but this is what we agreed on, to say if there's conflict, if we are not agreeing, these are the steps that we are going to take. That, which is why we're not happy with the attitude that the mayor was taking and the direction that the mayor was taking to actually engage parties that are outside of the coalition, because that is outlined in our coalition agreement to say we need to be able to find each other, convince each other, and finally agree and go now with one voice. So we have that document. It's signed. Every now and then we visit it, so it's there. So all parties, they have put in what they would want to be in that agreement, obviously based on their manifestos and their program of action. So we have that, and all the parties are represented in that agreement, and that's how we are proceeding.
Your provincial chairperson raised some serious matters that the executive mayor has breached the Municipal Finance Act, Systems Act, and I suppose also Municipal Structures Act, and those are quite serious breaches that the executive would commit. What is the position of?
So that is exactly what is being investigated, and that is the scope of the investigation. Because we are saying, look, the mayor is not part of the procurement process. There are bodies here, so the mayor shouldn't have involved himself in this right from the start. So those are the breaches that we are speaking of. And we have a recording. We had a recording which I'm sure you are aware of, and I'm sure you would have heard, where even the officials, which are actually people that are part of that body, were raising alarms on this to say, but Mayor, we cannot proceed with this thing. There's this issue, there's this issue, there's this issue. And the mayor seemingly wanted to push through and bulldoze that issue. So those are the issues that we are having investigated, because we are saying a mayor cannot be part of the procurement process. It cannot happen. So those are the issues that we feel that the acts were breached, and we want that investigated, and we want the mayor to have his say, to have his representation, and to be able to say, this is what I was doing, and then the independent body that will be investigating will then come to us and say, indeed, as ActionSA, you are right, there are these breaches. Or no, you are not right, there are no breaches, the mayor was just bringing the proposal on the table and all of those things, which is what the mayor is saying anyway. So we'll be able to sift through those things, and we'll know exactly what is it that happened and how we should proceed going forward.
Let us to get into another segment of this interview and deal with the issues of service delivery in the city. What is your take? Are you happy with the status of service delivery?
We are not at the point where we can say we are happy. So service delivery is happening. What we had an issue with before the local government elections, obviously the DA was running this municipality. So we had an issue of saying seemingly a large chunk of the budget of the city is going towards the affluent areas rather than the more disadvantaged areas. So which resulted in service delivery in the less privileged areas actually being non-existent. So we were worried about that, and and it's there even on the coalition agreement when we came in. So we said we cannot continue like this. There are services that are not needed in the affluent areas. Now those very services are the services that are needed in the disadvantaged areas. For instance, you will not need to install water pipes in Pretoria East, for instance, but you have a water issue in Hammanskraal. So you cannot have take a large chunk of the budget, take it to Pretoria East, whereas there's an issue there in Hammanskraal about that particular issue. So we had that issue, and we came in and we addressed it, and it's part of the agreement. And going forward, we are engaging in it. You would know we have been very active and very vocal on the issue of the Hammanskraal water.
Yes.
While we are in government, we will not sit and relax and say, no, we are in government. We are still pushing those issues as though we are in opposition, because we also want to hold ourselves accountable as part of the government. So we are still pushing those issues. We think there can be improvement. We are pushing for those improvement. That service delivery is channeled to the whole of the city, to all corners of the city, and not just to focusing on one area. So we are not 100% happy, but things are improving. You know that we came into this thing just on the eve of the adjustment budget and all of those things. So we currently did not take part that much in terms of the budgeting processes. Probably the next financial year, that is when we'll be able to bulldoze those kind of issues, so that we make sure that they are part of the budget. So that is the state that we are in right now. Yes, but we are happy with the progress that has been made. At least we were able to get the DA and on other coalition partners to be able to understand the fact that the people in the less advantaged areas also need services, and we are happy with that, because it's starting to improve right now, and we are seeing it happening, and we are happy with the progress that we have.
Now, Chair, given those dynamics of service delivery or channeling the resources to various areas of the city, you would have more presence in the areas of the north and so on, and the DA would have more presence in your east, towards the east and so on. Now, given those kind of dynamics, what would you say is the future and sustainability of coalition politics? Because channeling resources, finance, would also have a bearing in terms of the coalition.
Yeah, so that is also an advantage to the coalition government, where you are bringing in different sides of the coin, and you are bringing them together. So that's what the coalition is about. I mean, we do not want to be a government of only like-minded people, where we have the same programs, where we agree on everything, because we have seen that does not work. So when you have that kind of a majority of people who are like-minded, when they decide to loot, they loot with no accountability at all, because they are like-minded people. So now this is the nice thing about the coalition, where we'll be able to hold each other accountable, and that's exactly what happened with this issue of the unsolicited bid. So we're able to hold each other accountable, and the general public will then benefit from that. So the status of the coalition, coalition governments are the future of this country. Now, whether who agrees or who doesn't, it's the future of this country, and that's definitely where we are going. Like I said, in 2024, definitely Gauteng will be governed by coalition. I can tell you that with confidence, and quite a few other provinces as well, probably nationally as well. So coalitions are definitely the future, and like I said, what I like about it is that it's bringing different dynamics. So you are able to, so if as ActionSA we are saying the people of Hammanskraal need to be serviced, or the people of Harankuwa need to be serviced.
Yeah.
And then you have the DA that says the people of Pretoria East need to be serviced, and all of those things. And we speak with that.
Yeah.
Now we are able to find common ground to say, okay, but this side you do not need this much of a budget, this side you need this much of a budget. So we are able to align all of those issues.
Yeah.
And then it's easier to then run government, but it's also easier to then give service delivery to the residents. Unlike when you have people that are focusing in one segment of the economy and they are not focusing on the other, and it's not servicing obviously the other part of the economy.
Yeah. Now, the issue of GBV challenges, crime in general in the region, has been quite rife.
We are very concerned with that. There's social issues that are also a part of that picture, and you know that there's only so much that you can do when you are only in the local government, and there's what you can be able to achieve when you are in national government. So there are issues that we will champion when we get to national government. There are issues that will definitely champion. But as things stand right now, we are in coalition government in these metros, which means that our presence has to be felt in these metros.
Yeah.
So with the concern that we have, we want to have programs where, for instance, we have an MMC of social development in Tshwane, who's one of our MMCs. We have 3 MMCs in the current government. So we are pushing through the programs of social development to say there are social ills that are there, that are gripping this society. The issues of drug abuse, the issues of alcohol abuse, because those are issues that are leading us in this high level of crime that we are seeing. So we want to have a presence in those spaces. We want to get into that space where our people are actually moving away from these ills that are there. Our people are moving away from drugs. Our people are moving away from abusing alcohol, and have an understanding that things like alcohol, they are there for recreation purposes, but not for you to be able to survive with, because this is the kind of society that we are living on right now. So we are having those programs where we want to get our people help that they need. Some of these things are actually a cry for help, and we need to assist people. But obviously there are people that have described themselves as being outside of the community through the things that they are doing, through the crimes that they are doing in the community. Now you cannot have a person that is raping the woman, that is raping elderly and children and all of those things as part of the society. So we are pushing, and we are encouraging the law enforcement agencies to be able to tackle those issues. So we want, for instance, in the Tshwane Metropolis, so we want to empower the departments that deal with the GBV, for instance. So we want them to be empowered, and we want them to be trained on how to deal with those issues, because it's quite shameful, when women go to police stations and to report those issues, where they do not have someone who's actually dealing specifically with those issues, will be able to know and understand what to do. When you read through these things, and then you are told that the period between the reporting of that case and the very same woman waking up tomorrow is a very critical period. Now you need people that are empowered to be able to know how to proceed with those kind of cases, because the examinations that will have to be done, the medical examinations and all of those things, you need police that are empowered and that understand exactly what they need to do. So we at least because we are in that space where we can empower the Metro Police, that is where we are focusing on. We are not yet in national government government, which SAPS is then part of and is a prerogative of. We'll get into this space when we get into national government. But as things stand, we definitely want to empower the metropolis to be able to assist with those issues.
Yeah. I think maybe on the last aspect of our interview, especially that you one of the MMMCs of economic development, is a member of your organization, ActionSA. What is then the approach with regard to all your stance in terms of addressing issues of global challenges in the society, but in this instance in the city, issues of inequality, unemployment, and poverty?
So those issues are actually centered around the issue of unemployment, because poverty is brought about by debt. People who are unemployed are living in poverty, and obviously people who are unemployed are then unequal to those that are employed. Now that is brought about by debt, unemployment basically. So what we have been saying and what we are doing, but so let me first make this point clear. So the programs that the MMC of Economic Development is busy with right now are programs that were there as he came in. So it's the issue of finishing up with those programs and closing them down, and then be able to implement now new programs. As I said, that we came in the eve of this budget, so we'll then be able to implement more of our programs in the next budget. But what we have been speaking about, for instance, in Garankuwa there's an industrial area that side, where actually our president started his factory in those industrial areas. Black Like Me, we have them in Hammanskraal, we have them in Pretoria West, we have them in Wadlu, in the Mamelodi area. So the condition of those factories as we speak right now is actually quite shameful. And when you look at the number of people that can possibly be employed in those factories, it's huge numbers of people. So we have been saying that as our party, we have an interest to actually go and refurbish those factories, obviously via the municipality, to go and refurbish those factories, to make sure that entrepreneurs can then come into those factories and then come in and employ our people there. So there's incentives that we think as a party, as ActionSA, we think that the municipality can have in those factories after refurbishing them. As an example, we have been saying that if you bring together after refurbishing those factories, and if you bring together entrepreneurs, and you say we will give you these spaces rent-free for a particular period of time, so that you can be able to establish yourself as a business and to be able to balance your finances, and then you can come in and then pay rent to the municipality. The only condition that we have for you is that you hire local people. Now imagine that you are giving a business person space for free. That person will obviously be able to run his business, but also he'll be able to employ local people from that particular community. As things stand, the city is not getting anything in terms of rent from those places. So what's wrong with giving business people another 2 years? Because in any case, you are not getting anything currently. So say I'm giving you 2 years, so for you to be able to sustain your business and all of that, to be able to balance all your finances, and then after 2 years, then you can come in and pay rent. It's rent that we are not receiving now anyway. It's rent that if we don't do anything, we are not going to receive in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. So how about we receive it in the next 2 years? You see, so you'll be, as much as you are boosting the economy in terms of now the businesses that will be there, but you are also boosting the economy in the number of people that will be employed employed. Those people will then be spending into the city. Now, as just as a simple, easy example that doesn't need rocket science. Now, the person gets employed in those industrial areas. Now, that person comes in, now is able to afford to buy a house. That person buys a house. That person then pays rates and taxes to the city. Now, it's very basic things that we can be able to achieve.
Effects.
Yes. So it's simple issues that you don't need to have rocket science to be able to understand those issues. And that is what we are saying, to say those industrial areas are there. They are rusty, nothing is happening. Actually, they are now a hiding ground of criminals. Now we cannot have that. Let us utilize them positively. So that is one of the programs that we want to see happen, and it's quite a huge number of people that can be employed there. You know, when I grew up in a place called Stengwater, where I stayed, in every street you had at least two people that were working probably. In every street of that area, you had at least two people that were working there. Now imagine those are huge numbers. Those are huge numbers. Then it tells you that in the area of Trust Farm where I grew up, you possibly at one stage had about 150 people working in Babele. Now that's just a small portion that I'm speaking of. Now, if you can have that, then you have those people taking care of their families. Now they have these kids that will not be loitering around because they have parents that are able to afford to take them to school and all of those things. Now those, as you said, ripple effects, those are things that build up to a beautiful society that we all want to see ourselves in. Yes.
Well, Chairperson.
Yes.
Thanks very much for affording us this opportunity.
Yeah.
Indulging us on the matters that we have raised with yourselves.
Yeah.
And let's thank you very much, and also let's remind our viewers to not to forget to subscribe to the channel, to share the videos, and also to turn on that notification button for more informative engagement of this nature.
Yeah, no, definitely, it's been a pleasure, and platforms as yourself are platforms that are very important to the kind of society that we want to build. So we want government officials to be held accountable, but we want them to be able to speak to the communities on that very same accountability.
Yeah.
So it's a very important platform, and I would encourage people to obviously join in, subscribe, and be able to be part of this that you have built, this wonderful thing that you are building. And we are looking forward to having more discussions with yourselves, so that we can be able to then explain to the citizens of the city what is it that we are doing and what is it that is happening with the city. So thank you so much for having us.
Okay, thanks.